Hello and welcome back to the tutorial. I really hope you've been able to learn something new over the course of the other videos and have been able to put some of the things you learned into practice. Now, as you can already see, our topic is control statements. So let's just dive in and see what control statements are. So control statements are really just statements that help determine the flow of execution of your program. What that means is they determine how your program should move. From all the programs we've seen so far, the code is just executed from top to bottom, meaning the first code that comes gets executed and it moves on to the next and to the next, and as many code and as much lines of code as you have in your program will get executed. But with control statements, we're saying there's a way we can determine what code should get executed and what code should not get executed. If there's a certain code we want to be executed multiple times, and putting some other things in place to ensure that we have a right result, and we don't just execute code that are not really needed for a particular instance. To achieve this, we have types of control statements. Basically, there are two major broad ones, and these are the conditional statements and the iteration statements, or you can call them loop statements or conditional loop statements, pretty much the same thing. So under the conditional statements, you have the if statement, and it's basically posing a question like, if something is true or false, then we should we should take a certain line of action, but if it's not true, take another type of action. Switch statement, on the other hand, checks a value and has corresponding actions for the possible states of that value. Now, moving over to iteration statements, we have the for loop and the while loop. Basically, they let you execute a line of code or a group of code over and over again until a certain condition is met or no longer met. The for loop and the while loop are pretty much the same, except that the for loop usually makes use of a counter that is incremented or decremented. On the other hand, the while loop just uses a condition and will keep executing until that condition is no longer true. So in the next series of videos, we're going to be seeing how each of these work and how we can apply them to our program to create more functional code, and at the same time determine what code gets executed while our program is being executed.